Steven Stamkos, equalizer from Frankie Vatrano on a power play with 7 minutes to play, and then 21 seconds later, it's Stamkos again. Initial shot saved by Igor Shesterkin. It bounces out of his glove, wishes he would have squeezed it a little harder. It goes off of Stamkos. It's ruled a good goal. That proved to be the difference. 2-1 the final as the Lightning win 4 in a row. They were down 0-2 in this series. They ripped off 4 straight wins and send the Rangers packing and advance to the Stanley Cup final. Standing in their way, the Colorado Avalanche, who've won 12 games this postseason, have lost 2. Are you kidding me? Favorites to win the Cup. But what a matchup we have now, the Lightning and the Avs. But a hell of an effort by the Rangers. I mean, really, when you consider what they did, came back in the first 2 rounds, forced to Game 7, beat the Penguins, beat the Hurricanes, played the Lightning, the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs, to a Game 6. Look, Game 5, you could make an argument they should have won that game, right? Ryan Strome, open net, big whiff, missed it, and it's missed opportunities. That's what happens in the playoffs. You miss opportunities, you're not going to advance. And that's sort of what happened in the last 2 games for the New York Rangers, but a heck of an effort. But the Lightning moving on to the Stanley Cup final, Game 1 Wednesday in Denver. Let's welcome in former NHL winger Alan May, who played 8 seasons in the National Hockey League. This was ridiculous, really. When you think about what happened there in Game 6, where the Rangers get the equalizer from Frankie Vatrano with 7 minutes to play, and then 21 seconds later, the goal from Stamkos, it proved to be the difference. Your reaction to what you saw?
Well, I just thought Steve Stamkos was next level tonight. He was shot out of a cannon. He was ready to win this game. They didn't want to play a Game 7. I don't know when the next series is starting. I've already forgot from the inside information I've had. But I'll tell you what, Stamkos was flying tonight. He wanted the puck, and he's a shooter, and he doesn't pass up opportunities. And on a play like that, he goes in, and Shesterkin's unable to stop him, but he was coming in so fast. A pair of excellent passes. First on that, the puck to get out of the zone by Andre Palat up to Kucherov, and then Kucherov with this delicate, soft hands to get over to Stammer, and Stammers fires that in stride, and then gets a fortunate rebound off of his leg, his pants, whatever it is. But he was not going to be denied tonight. I really thought Steve Stamkos stepped up his game, and he's just got better as these playoffs have gone on.
When you talk about the missed opportunities, right? You look back at Game 5, Ryan Strome, the open net, and he whiffs on a goal there. Could have been the game winner, coulda, woulda, shoulda. And then here, if Shesterkin squeezes that, probably looking at overtime. Maybe you like your chances, maybe you don't. But, I mean, when you think about the missed opportunities, and really there's no room for error in the playoffs. I mean, the margin for error is razor thin, Alan. And when you look at these mistakes, they add up. And these last 2 games for the Rangers, they did themselves in.
Well, it's certainly. And I look at Shesterkin, you know, the puck coming out of his glove the way that it did. The way goaltenders are supposed to play now, they're supposed to have their elbows in tight, they're compact. So when it does hit their glove, their blockers are made not to be like a first baseman's mitt that just closes in on the ball. So they get it, and it hits them in the palm. And it seems so many goaltenders have that, where it snaps into their palm and comes out. They're unable to really close it. But it happens so fast, it ricochets off there, and it's a rebound. Stamkos, because he's going forward, beats everyone to the net. The defenders have to turn from backwards to forwards and try to find the puck. And you see, it's just that simple little play. And normally that doesn't happen, but Stammer's coming in there so fast, he probably lets that go at about 70 miles an hour, but he's in stride. So Shesterkin's just reacting, and he's getting his glove more like a blocker. He's throwing it out there. So, you know, it's a minuscule mistake, if you want to call it that. It's just a great, fortunate bounce that the Tampa Bay Lightning earned again and again in this series.
Yeah, Rangers really just didn't generate enough offense throughout the 60 minutes of ice time here. I'm curious about what you think of the decision, Gerard Gallant going with Ryan Strome and Capo Kakko as a healthy scratch in Game 6.
Well, when you look at this, so there's a lot of moving parts when you set out a player. First, is Kakko hurt? We know that Strome was battling something, but he's a centerman. Kakko's a right winger, and what they do is they have Kevin Rooney in there as insurance. You know, they've been up and down the middle, so it was insurance for Ryan Strome getting injured or having to leave the game and having Rooney out there. So it's one of those awful, horrible coaching decisions that you don't want to make. And in hindsight, you look at the kid line. They were flying as a unit. So there'll be questions about that, and they'll hear about it for the next week or so. And it's a lesson learned. I don't know. Obviously, it wasn't the right move tonight. But one of the things, when you look at players that aren't producing in the playoffs and people get all over them, the headlines are bigger in the playoffs than they ever are. But you look at, some of the players on the Rangers, you wonder, why and how they couldn't get going. I look at Adam Fox. I would handicap that there's a lot of injuries mounting up. And one of the big things right now with the New York Rangers, they don't have a lot of scar tissue in the playoffs. This is a new group that was put together by Chris Drury, and they don't have a lot of scar tissue. The Tampa Bay Lightning have a lot of scar tissue. They were embarrassed 2 years in a row in the playoffs before they got to win the Stanley Cup in the bubble, and they've got a lot of scar tissue now. They were embarrassed really bad by the Columbus Blue Jackets about 4 years ago, and they've learned a lot of lessons. And one of the things, they were a high-flying, offensive, wheeling, dealing hockey team that had this great goaltender that they weren't protecting enough. And then you look at what they are now. They're got all those same players, or the majority of those same players, but they're bigger, they're nastier. If you want to fight in the back alley, they're going to fight you in the back alley, but they think defense first, and they're so much better. When you think of what they did tonight, the high danger opportunities for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they had a great mindset not to sit back. They went after it offensively, but at the same time, they took away the middle of the ice inside the defensive zone. They only allowed 5 high danger opportunities while generating 17 themselves. So they really have a great mindset of what it takes to win in the playoffs. They've been there. They've done that. They've done it a couple times. And now here they're going to the finals 3 times in a row.
Yeah, here they go 3 times in a row. And, looking to win a 3rd straight title, be the first team to win 3 in a row since the Islanders won 4 in a row from 80 to 83, which is, when you say that out loud, it's ridiculous when you say that out loud. It really is. To win 4, that really is ridiculous. Look, you played in the playoffs during your career, got to the conference final in 1990 with the Capitals. What's that like when your season comes crashing to an end in the postseason?
It's a bad hangover. It's a bad hangover. It's painful. And you're just so close to the promised land of being in the finals where anything can happen. And once again, with my team back in 1990, our best goal scorer, Dino Ciccarelli, our best offensive defenseman, Kevin Hatcher, were both, knocked out of the Boston series with knee injuries. And those things just mount up. So you have to have a great system in place, a great group of players, but you got to be injury free as far as you can go. Hopefully they're just little nagging things, not major injuries, but they build up over time. And you get those injuries, that means you're having some bad luck in that department, bad bounces like tonight with Shesterkin. So a lot of things mount up to this. You need a lot of things to go in your favor to get to the finals, and then even more to win the big cup.
When you look back at what the Rangers did to get here, because I think you would probably argue, and I know you watch other sports, I think you'd probably argue that winning the Stanley Cup is the hardest championship to win in the 4 sports. And I'm not trying to be biased because you're here and try to, get you on my side here, but like winning the Stanley Cup is extremely difficult. Not to take any away from the other 3 professional North American sports, but the injuries, the how quickly you're playing, how vicious it is, the violence that you talk about, players going so quick up and down the ice. Braden Point didn't even play in this series, didn't play in the last 2 series for the Lightning. They still get to the final. So in terms of the Rangers, what's your biggest takeaway from the fact that they got to this point?
Well, they did it with a lot of youth in their lineup. And I look at their defensemen. They've got an excellent goaltender. We're never going to forget about him. Shesterkin, I'd say he's second best goaltender in the National Hockey League. And right now, Vasilevsky is the reigning heavyweight champ of goaltenders. What he's been able to do in the regular season and then in the playoffs. And he comes up with the big saves time and time again. But when you look at the defense of the New York Rangers, you look at these young Americans that they have on their team. They've got 4 of them. Jacob Trouba is like the physical leader. You got Keandre Miller, a first-round draft pick who's about 21, 22 years old. Adam Fox, a 23-year-old that won the best defenseman in the league last season. And you look at Ryan Lindgren, who's just an animal out there, shot blocking and playing above his weight class. So those things, putting that defense together, and I really like that they did it with players from the U.S. I'm Canadian, and I say that. And then you look at what, putting the young guns, and all of a sudden these first-round draft picks, Hedel, Lafreniere, Kakko, all of a sudden they're stepping up in their games. And because they have some really great players up front, like Zibanejad and Panarin, you're not forcing those kids to play out a role too soon. So they're learning how to play the game properly. So the time, and this series is going to be a lot of learned lessons for those kids and for every player on that team, how hard it is. I know the Edmonton Oilers, they look back at the last Stanley Cup finals that they were in before they won. It was the Islanders' 4 Stanley Cup. They were swept in 4, and they went by the Islanders dressing room. Used to have to go by in the old Nassau County Coliseum, and they look in their room, and all the players are covered in ice bags, and their knees are wrapped, their shoulders are wrapped, their elbows are wrapped. And, they got a beer in hand, but they got ice bags everywhere. And it's all about physical sacrifice, determination. I think the game is harder to play now because it's so overcoached. And it's well coached, but it's overcoached. So it's a tougher game to play. It's a salary cap year. But you look at the New York Rangers, they came so far in this season. I didn't think they'd be this far in the playoffs, but they came together. They put a great squad on the ice to go a long ways. But unfortunately, the heavyweight champs of the National Hockey League were in the Eastern Conference, and they won the final.
Yeah, we always talk about what's next for the losing team, right? And, of course, the next step is they're going to get on a plane and go back home. They'll have their exit interviews. They'll talk with their head coach. They'll talk with Gerard. They'll say, what were we missing? How much does this fuel the Rangers in terms of going into next season? We've been here. We were a couple wins away from the Cup final.
Well, they're going to watch next week when they're not playing. They're going to watch Tampa Bay and Colorado play, and they're going to see what it takes and all the little plays. When you look, I've got to be better defensively, getting pucks out of my zone if you're a winger. You look at Andre Palat, the guy does anything possible to get the puck out of the zone, and no one ever talks about him, but it's the little things he does. So the Rangers forwards, they're going to learn about the little things, and it's the little things you do without the puck. Defensively, the poke checks, the shot blocks, and then defensemen. We're just in their coverages, sticks on the ice, just little lessons. And when you get beat for a goal and you've made it like a slight error, those are things that it's a lot easier to get a player's attention and to get him to do it right the next time. And younger players, most of these kids, the younger guys, they're offensive studs wherever they came from, whether it's Europe, Canadian junior, American college hockey. They're studs, they're high scorers, and they've never really had to focus on defense. They just thought it was coming back into the zone. Well, they've got to learn the nuances of defense and then the physical sacrifice, things that they probably never really had to do in the past. And that's the hardest thing for the coaches to get through to the young players. But I think the New York Rangers, they learned a lot in this series. They'll learn even more next week watching, and they'll come back hungry because they were so close.
All right, time now for your Geico statement. Lightning looking to win their 3rd straight Stanley Cup, standing in their way, as we mentioned, the favorites to win the Cup, the Colorado Avalanche at -190 for the series price. They've only lost 2 games this postseason. Ridiculous, right? They're averaging over 4.5 goals per game. That leads all teams this postseason. Star Nathan MacKinnon has 11 goals. It's an incredible matchup when you look at it on paper, Alan, but how do you see it playing out on ice?
Well, I don't want to make this prediction right now, but and I swear I'm so torn because I believe in the Tampa Bay Lightning so much. But Colorado, they've been embarrassed a few times the last few years in the playoffs. And they've made some key trades that make them a heavier team on the backside of it. The defenseman, Josh Manson, who they brought in, he's been wonderful. Eric Johnson wasn't there in the playoffs last year. Cale Makar right now is the best player in the playoffs. So it's hard to go against him. As long as the Avalanche stay healthy, I thought the determination and the face that MacKinnon was making when they won the Western Conference Finals, and he was behind the trophy, and he refused to smile. He was so intense. I think that intensity, it just shows the drive that they have. And I really don't want to pick the Avalanche because I believe in the Lightning. It's not that I hate the Avalanche. I've got no ill will to them, but I just think it's their time. They're ready to go. But they need to stay healthy. If their goaltender is unable to play, if Kemper is not able to play in this series and be the starter all throughout, whether it's 4, 5, 6, or 7 games, they are in trouble. Now, the other side of it, the Tampa Bay Lightning, this is why it makes it so tough for me. Every team they played in the playoffs was fast. Every team was lightning fast that they played against. And look how slow they made the New York Rangers look as this series went on. And everyone was talking in that Toronto series. And it's funny, in the Great White North, they were just hammering how the Tampa Bay Lightning couldn't skate. Well, they just had to figure out what they needed to do, get their defensive game in order, and they've just gotten better and better and better, and they found a way to really slow teams down. So this is 2 contrasting styles, and there's gunners on both teams. There's great offensive players. So this is the tough one. I hope it goes 7 games. I want it to go 7 games, and I want it to go overtime in Game 7. And I really don't want to make that choice, but I'm saying Colorado right now.
Okay, this is sort of like, this is one of those, this is what hockey needs, right? Because you got the favorites to win the Cup, the Colorado Avalanche, facing the 2-time defending champs, and all the storylines. Like Darcy Kemper, ready to go. He's available. That has been announced. So you're going to go Darcy Kemper, you're going to go Pavel Francouz. Nazem Kadri has not been ruled out for the series. Andrew Cogliano hasn't been ruled out for the series. Braden Point could be back for Game 1. I mean, all of these storylines are going into this series, and you're right, going 7 games would be incredible. Before I let you go, though, we didn't get to talk a whole lot about Braden Point. I know you love Braden Point. If he's back, which is what he's trending toward, they thought they might have him for Game 6 here of the Eastern Conference Final. Hasn't played since the first round. What will that mean to have him back on the ice for the 2-time reigning champs?
Well, you have 90% or better Braden Point. He's better than almost every player in the National Hockey League. And defensively, he is untouchable, really. He is so good without the puck. He uses his speed. He's not the biggest guy, but he understands the game so well. And he surprised everyone in the National Hockey League. You look at all the teams that passed over him. And I bet he could have played today, but John Cooper has confidence in his guys. And he told them, let's just go out and take this one. Let's just go out and win this. Let's play fast. Let's play heavy. Let's play hard. Let's not just sit back and try to eke out a win. And I thought Tampa went out. And they could have, and I bet you it'll come out that the Point could have played. And they were waiting. You know, if they needed him in Game 7, 100% he would be there. I expect him to be on the ice. And this is no insider information. I expect him because from what I saw of him skating today, he's got a few more days rest and he'll be ready to roll. And they really need him. And he's such an important part of the team. But what I love about the Lightning is how they had players step in, step up, and do such a great job and rise to the next level. But they've been doing that for 2 years. And one of the things they didn't have 2 years, they only had 1 game, 1 shift, 1 goal out of Steve Stamkos in the bubble. But he was back, and he's a force right now, and he's a force to be reckoned with. And he played center ice very well in this series with Palat and Kucherov, and they just got better every night. So Braden Point only makes them a way better hockey team. And I may have to change my pick if we stay on here too long.
It's you got some time.
But I'm going to stick with the Avs, but I'm telling you, I don't want to make it. This is a tough decision.
It is. Avs looking to win their first Stanley Cup trophy since 2001. Of course, the Lightning looking to go three-peat here. In the immortal words of Bart Scott, you know him. Can't wait, Alan. Game 1, Stanley Cup Final Wednesday in Denver. Appreciate the conversation. That was great stuff, as always, with Alan May here on CBS Sports HQ. So here we go. The Stanley Cup Final matchup. It looks awesome on paper. How's it going to play out on the ice? The Avs are the favorites in the series at -190. Look, they entered this season as the favorites to win the Cup. They remain the favorites to win the Cup. Again, they're looking for their first Cup since 2001. Lightning looking to win their 3rd straight Stanley Cup title and trying to really do that since the Islanders did so. The Islanders won 4 in a row from 1980 to 1983. Again, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final Wednesday in Denver.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.